is Jon Bailey, and before time began, there was Toyquest 101.
My name is Ileana, is my father Miguel.
And you heard it right, ladies and gentlemen. We have the voice of so many voices, right? Jon Bailey on the show. Thank you for being on Toyquest 101 for Autism Awareness Month. We're so excited to have you here, bud.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. So before we start, we want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any toy reviews, statue unboxing, or any celebrity guests that might pop up on our show. But enough of that. Let's get started with the show. So, Jon, let's start with how it all began. And at what point or what age did you realize I want to be a voiceover actor?
I don't think there was ever an age or time specifically where I was just like, I want to be a voice actor, because I didn't really know that that was a job.
Right.
I just knew that I really liked voices. I started doing impressions of what I heard from Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers when I was only 3 years old. But it wasn't until I was 5 when I was like, oh, that's a cool voice. I would love to be that voice one day. That's kind of how it was for me. It wasn't necessarily, I want to be a voice actor. It was just like, I want to be that voice that people are like, whoa, did you hear that? That was cool. And it wasn't until I was a teenager where I really understood what a voice actor was. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s where I was like, you know what? Maybe I could be a voice actor. So I guess it came in stages.
and back then, I could imagine, right? You're only seeing what's on TV. Internet wasn't really that big. And
the credits were hard to figure out. They didn't put, this guy voiced this guy and this lady voiced it. It was just a bunch of names. We didn't know who did what.
Right. Wow. Go ahead, Ian. Ask your question.
Who are your voice inspirations?
Well, my biggest one was Peter Cullen, who does the voice of Optimus Prime, who created the voice for it. Optimus Prime is considered a legacy character, which means that he's been voiced by more than one actor, but Peter Cullen kind of created that character based on his own brother, which is probably why it was such a great character. And when I first heard the voice, though, it was in Voltron's intro. And that was the one that was just like, whoa, where did that come from? And then once I heard it again in Transformers, that was just kind of the voice that made me want to go, wow, I want to be whatever that is, So yeah, that was my biggest one. But there's so many people that have influenced me and have inspired me to a lot of the times you need more people to influence you and inspire you to keep going more than anything else, not just to get started. Getting started is the easy part. Staying in it and keeping going, even when there's no jobs or people keep turning you down and you start to wonder, am I doing the right job here? Is maybe God wants me to go in another direction because things aren't happening. So it's a constant battle. And sometimes you'll have somebody that's like just a little bit ahead of where you are and not, you're right there. Don't worry. So I've got Christina Malizia, Debbie Derryberry, Tara Strong. There's just a lot of people that have really kind of helped me throughout my career, kind of go to and fro to avoid the rapids and the rocks. Because it's kind of like it's kind of like with voiceover, like starting at it is like getting into a raft with a paddle, and you're going to go down this river, you're going to go canoeing, and it starts off fine because anybody can get in the canoe, anybody can start paddling. But at some point you're going to start hitting some rocky, rapid stuff and you're going to lose the paddle. And it's just going to be you in a boat and you're just clinging onto the boat for dear life and you're and you're going to get beat up and you're going to get hurt and you get close to drowning. It kind of depends on if you can just survive through it or not, So there's always those people that are kind of in there. And I personally, I believe that God just had the right person there at the right time that I needed just kind of, course correct and keep me going.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, speaking of that, right, I'm glad you said that. In 2007, you started your own YouTube channel. Talk to us about how that came about and how you got dubbed the name Epic Voice Guy.
Okay, well, that's kind of two separate stories, but they are linked by YouTube.
Right.
I started off with YouTube just because I saw other people dubbing over cartoons, and I'm like, I want to do that. I wanted to I've always wanted just to make funny versions of the original cartoons and dub over them, doing my own voices. And kind of all my content has always been based on doing my own voices and kind of making content based off the voices that I do. So it was a way to show off what I could do. At the same time, it was a way to entertain people and get all these creative ideas out of my head. And I kind of got an early reputation as being like the Optimus Prime. So it's just like, oh, he's the guy that does Optimus Prime on the internet. That's kind of the description I had. It wasn't just, I started off with so many different usernames before Epic Voice Guy came along. And then when my voiceover career started, after YouTube had started, I started booking trailers after about a year and a half. And I started kind of racking up a bunch of trailers. And when the YouTube channel Honest Trailers lost their previous voice guy, they found me on the same video that I had done doing different movie trailer voices that my first manager had found, and how I kind of got into doing real trailers. And then by the time they had seen it, by that time it'd probably been a couple of years since I'd made the video, after I'd started doing professional voiceover work. So I'd updated the information for that video to link to my website, and my website was kind of like an early version of Netflix, which is all these thumbnails of trailers that I had worked on. And if you clicked on the ones that I'd found, links for, it would open up a YouTube video that would show the actual trailer for it. And the guys that were looking from Honest Trailer were like, oh, we saw your website from that video you did, and was like, oh, this guy's for real. He like legitimately does this for a living. And so that kind of, they had been calling, have our movie voice, read this such and such in the comments. At some point, they started calling it Epic Voice, and it was the Epic Movie Trailer Voice, and it kind of just shortened it down to Epic Voice. And I was going to do Epic Voice Man, like superhero style. And somebody else suggested, Australia suggested, like maybe Epic Voice Guy instead. And that kind of just what stuck. So, and it's a little more casual than Epic Voice Man,
Yeah. Well, I like it, man. We follow you on Instagram and all your social media pages.
Thank you.
And it is hilarious, some of the things you do on there, especially with the face swaps and stuff. It makes it that much funnier.
I think I've always needed that technology. My brain was too far ahead. I had to wait for apps to catch up with my brain.
I know, right? But it's good now because it makes for some epic content, right? You're looking at this stuff and it looks real. It looks
What's scary is that some people actually believe that I am those celebrities, and they can't see the giant watermarks from the deepfake app on the side.
Yeah, man, it's a talent, man. I love it. And you make a lot of people laugh and smile, and in a world like hey, it's good to have people like that. So that's awesome, man. All right, Jan, why don't you go with yours?
What is your favorite project that you got to work on?
I'm wearing it. See?
Yeah.
Bumblebee was my favorite job so far in my career. There's been a lot of other stuff that I had. There was another job that I had more fun at, but as far as favorites go, Bumblebee is still at the top of my list because I got to voice. Early on, I was just the temp voice for Optimus Prime, which I thought was really cool, only because Peter Cullen refused to do it at the time. And I was like, well, if he doesn't want to do it, then I'll be happy to try it out. And then they liked me, and they had me come in for 2 or 3 little sessions, just because he didn't really have that much in the film. So it was like 15 minutes at Paramount. But for me, growing up being a Transformers fan, 15 minutes at Paramount is like 10 years in heaven. Getting to be Optimus Prime's voice. Yeah. And then on the last, I had auditioned a couple of times for the movie, and I knew it was the movie because I was a fan. But a lot of other people did. They saw the fake title of the name, and unless you were a Transformers fan, you would have known what you were actually auditioning for. You wouldn't have known the characters or whatever. And I automatically assumed that this had to be for Bumblebee movie. And I auditioned for it. They told us to pick 5. Like, I'm just going to pick 5. I'm like, I know I'm doing all of these except for RC. I'm doing all of them but RC. So I auditioned for everything. I did 3 takes per character because that's kind of my thing. I do 3 takes per voice. So I threw in, an original, the original impression, the old character, my own interpretation of it, and a combination of the 2. Yeah, so I had, and at the time there was Starscream and Ironhide both had lines in the movie that they got cut later on. But I'd auditioned for all of it. And then a couple of days later, I got this exact same audition again. And I was like, is this a callback? Or they're like, there's something weird about them. They're trying a different studio or what, but go ahead and do it again. I'm like, well, I don't even know what I could do different from last time that I hadn't already done. So I auditioned for it again. I was a little confused. And then my last session being there for Optimus Prime, it was me and Steve Bloom was there. And if you don't know anything about Steve Bloom and you're listening, Steve Bloom is probably, he may still be a Guinness World Record video game voice holder. And he's also been in Transformers a lot over the years. So they come out with the clipboard and they were like, so we just need to know which characters you booked before. I'm new, even though I've been at this for a while, to Transformers. I've only booked Optimus, and I know they're going to get Peter Cullen to do Optimus Prime. And of course he's going, done it, didn't do it, done it. Like he's almost all of them. So there are like 2 guys left over for me. So after I go in, I'm just like, I do the 2, I Ratchet and I believe that Ratchet and Ironhide were the only 2 that I got to audition for extra besides my own, my own work. And before I left, I was like, would you mind if I took a shot at some of these other guys? Because I've been a Transformers fan for over 35 years and I've gotten pretty good at some of these voices. And he's like, yeah, you want to give it a shot? Go ahead. So I did some of them. He was like, holy crap, you're blowing my mind right now. These sound just like the original cartoons.
Yeah.
And I recorded, and I told him a little background on Soundwave voice and Shockwave's voice and where it came from. I even recommended actors for them. I was like, you need to get David Warner for Shockwave because that's the voice it was based on. And he was like, wow, I didn't even know. You know, the next thing I know, they're letting me know, by the way, we're going to have you be Shockwave and Soundwave in the actual Bumblebee film. Like I recorded scratch for a lot of it, but we didn't know at the time. I think they recorded everybody. So that means that Steve Bloom, even in the screener, I don't know if you knew this or not, but in the screener, Steve Bloom was actually Cliffjumper, not this other guy that was in the final version of the film. He was not Wheeljack. Actually, they had my voice for Wheeljack at the time. So they swapped him around. So you never really know in the early version of the film when it's not finished yet what's going to happen and what's not. So I saw the unfinished that was animatic still. There was no CG extra stuff. I know it was been said by somebody else that I won't mention names that they animated Optimus Prime's voice to my face, but they did not. It was not even, there was no facial movement at the time at all in the screener. So I know that they did that later on when they got Peter in. But it was still cool because I got to hear me as Optimus because they hadn't recorded Peter yet. So I was Optimus, Ironhide, Wheeljack, and a couple of, maybe Brawn in the screener, and Soundwave and Shockwave. So we had no idea if any of these were going to stay, if these were all just, because I've seen screeners before. They use a lot of temp voices in screeners. Right. So that's what most of my work in Detective Pikachu was, the early stuff that eventually got cut and replaced. Some of it made it into the final film, but a lot of it didn't. So when you go to an early screening of a movie, and it's not going to be out for a couple of years, you may hear a whole bunch of different, in fact, you may hear more than one voice for the same character. Sometimes it'll just be the guy from whatever studio that just went in, okay, guys, let's go do this. And they're not even trying. They just needed to fill it in for whatever, so.
Yeah. So do you find out when really the final product is out?
I found out for Bumblebee about 2 months before it came out. Like, not even that, really. Yeah, about a month and a half, because it was right at Halloween. It was Halloween when I found out, and it came out December 18th. So there was not a lot of time between those two. Detective Pikachu, I found out a few months before as well. They said, by the way, you're going to also be a final voice in the film, and you will get credited. And I'm like, oh, cool. So
nice. So when you saw the film for the first time, I mean, what did you think? Were you like...
Well, when I first saw the screening, it was kind of one of those miraculous moments where for everything else there's MasterCard, because we didn't know what movie we were seeing. They didn't tell us. They just said, if you like Avengers and if you like Batman, you'll probably like this film. We're looking for parents who have kids that are at this age to this age. I'm like, I've got 2 kids in that category. My wife is still giving me a hard time because I didn't take the whole family. I was like, we didn't know. We had no idea what we were seeing. But my son Tyler, the one that I did take of my 2 boys, and my youngest daughter, Kaylee. So I took 2 out of 4 of our kids, and both of them, it was just like, Dad, and my son said the nicest thing I've ever heard anybody say. He said, Dad, that's going to be you up there one day, when Optimus Prime was like talking. And I was like, oh, that's like the coolest. Yeah, he thought that meant I was awesome, the new Optimus Prime. I'm like, no, that doesn't mean I'm the new Optimus Prime. But yeah, it was crazy to get to hear that because it was my voice in it and we had no idea what film it was. So to get to see and hear that was just mine, because I know that's the only time you'll ever get to hear that version.
Right.
And then when the full version came out, I was still just blown away because that's me with Shockwave and Soundwave. And it crossed off the biggest thing on my bucket list that I thought I wouldn't be able to cross off, because number 1 on the list was to be a Transformers character with Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime in something Transformers official. And I just didn't see that because I was always filling in for him. So we were never in the same projects at the same time. He doesn't exactly love that I do Optimus Prime's voice. So I didn't know how this was going to work. And there I am at literally a scene where it's like my character, his character, my character. And I'm like, ah! And then there's my name on the screen with his name and the credits. And I'm just like, I'm going to get this printed and framed somewhere. And
yeah, man, that's a bucket list goal. I mean, I got goosebumps
really awesome.
You telling me this story.
It's just crazy. Like how the odds of that happening. I mean, despite the fact of booking my 2, not because I've voiced my 3 favorite Transformers, Optimus Prime, Shockwave, and Soundwave, in order of favorites at Shockwave, Soundwave, and then Optimus. So getting to book not just one, but both of my favorite guys for the movie with Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime, just that circumstances, and then getting to see the screener with my voices all in it as Optimus, like there's just all that, and there's no way that happens. That doesn't happen. That's
awesome, man. That speaks to the talents that you have, man. And
that speaks to awesome, just follow God's will and you'll be fine.
Hey, man, that's what an awesome story, man. I tell you, I got goosebumps. That's crazy. To be a fly on that wall, man, in that studio.
Yeah, that was overwhelming, man.
I can bet, man. That's awesome, dude. All right, Liana, why don't you? Oh wait, no, it's my turn. Is there something? Oh, this is a good question. Is there something you want to do that you haven't, or a goal that you would like to accomplish with voice acting?
Yeah, there's still a couple of bucket lists left, items left. I still haven't been a regular or recurring character on anything animated or like a main either hero or villain in some anime or video game. So those are like my last 3 things on the list. Everything else I've pretty much gotten to do. I wanted to work on something Star Wars. I wasn't very specific, and I got to do that. You know, I haven't worked on a show or a movie, but I have worked on Star Wars stuff, which is, you know, for me, that's good enough. You know, I got to work on Transformers stuff. That was on the list. I got to do movie trailers. I got to be the voice of a toy. I just had this whole list of cool stuff. So yeah, I'm just checking all the boxes. I only got 3 more to go.
Man, listen, with all these movies coming out and Disney Plus and all this stuff, man, I see big things in your future, brother. I really do.
Well, I'm also making a lot of good connections out here in LA, and I know this is ridiculous to say it this way, but thanks to quarantine, there was some positive that came out of it.
Yeah.
A lot of people went to a different type of medium, and a lot of people were forced to make different types of shows that don't require actors being in person and at the same place at the same time, which opened up a lot of doors for me. And all of a sudden I've got big creators that have made big movies and TV shows saying, wow, I had no idea you could do all this stuff. You're going to be my new go-to voice guy. And I'm like, there you go.
Yeah, it's perfect. Same thing with us. You know, usually we go to the cons or we have celebrities that are in the area come to our show in person.
Right.
But now it's opened up this where we could contact people from LA and all around the world. Cal Dodd's going to be on this month.
Nice.
He plays the voice of Wolverine, and he's in Toronto. So that was a bucket list of
Well,
ours.
of course, he's in Canada, bub.
He's the man. Oh, he was great.
Well, I also had this box ready to go, and a lot of people didn't have a home studio set up. So when
Oh, yeah?
the whole thing happened, a lot of voice actors were scrambling because they recorded at a studio or
Right.
they recorded at their agency, but they didn't have their home studio already set up. And because of how strict the standards are for audio quality, if you don't have one that passed their rigorous audio tests, they're just going to find somebody who does have that set up. So that opened up a big door for me and a lot more work for me, because I was already set up for this. And it proved what I've been saying all along. You don't have to live in LA to be able to record this stuff. You should be able to record it anywhere that has decent internet and a decent booth. So I guess told you so.
Yeah, good for you, man. That's awesome. That's good.
Maybe
man.
that means I can move out of this expensive state and somewhere cheaper now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you mentioned you voiced a toy, obviously, and we follow you on social media, and some of the things you do on there are hilarious, but do you have I know you have a good collection too, because I've seen some of your collections.
It's decent, yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, I like it. What do you have a favorite figure from your collection?
To be fair, I think that my new favorite one is the one that my friend Russ gave me. He goes by Optimus Prime on, he's a big YouTube reviewer for toys, mainly Marvel stuff, action figure, articulated comic book art, you know. He sent me well, it used to be 3A, but now it's like DLX or something, the new Bumblebee Soundwave movie, movie Soundwave, the big one. And
Yes.
I'm just like,
Yes.
that's me.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
really cool.
We have the Bumblebee 3M version.
I've got the Bumblebee and I've got the Optimus, which technically I did the voice for, kind of, sort of. But yeah, but I cannot wait till they make a Shockwave. Hurry up. Come on. They made a Starscream before they made Shockwave, and Starscream didn't even say anything.
Yeah, I said the same thing. And it's funny because those figures are very heavy, and they have so many points of articulation. And you know, when you
even the studio size, make Soundwave and Shockwave. People love those two characters.
100%. That's awesome, dude. All right, Ileana, why don't you ask your last question before we get to our other segment? Go ahead.
Since it's Autism Awareness Month, what words of encouragement do you have for kids with autism that want to do voice acting?
It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of keep going and don't give up. And I know that's really hard for people with autism. Being patient is a really tough thing for my son to do. He's got on the spectrum, and we've been dealing with this for probably 15 or 16 years now. And as he's gotten older, I see like that's his biggest problem. And then I notice when I go to studios and I see other autistic people, because as a father of one, it's pretty easy to spot somebody.
Right.
And I see them struggling because it feels like they've been going to these coaching classes over and over again and they're not getting anywhere. And it's very hard. It's a very hard job to do because there's a lot of things that actors are required to do that maybe not easy for somebody that has a disability that keeps in their way of them being able to do it.
Right.
But I'm not saying that they cannot do it. I think that there is a place, the business is so big And I feel like if they can pretend well enough, because it's all about imagination, if they can pretend well enough to be another character, and they can kind of sort of manage to understand how to record and send off the things, or if they have some assistance with sending stuff off, absolutely they can. But it takes a lot of patience. It has sometimes, look, it took me 13 years just to be additional voices.
Right.
That just means I'm an extra. I'm a voice extra. So 13 years later, if that tells you anything. So it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of patience and a lot of hard work. And I mean, that's hard for folks who don't have disabilities. So I know it's twice as hard. I have friends that are legally blind that are in the voiceover business. And I'm like, how? They're like, you can't ever quit. You can never give up. You just have to keep going.
That's awesome. And that's true, man. That's 100% true, that saying right there. So thank you for that, man. And again, we appreciate you being here for Autism Awareness Month. So thank you, and being a great father. I appreciate
your patience with my schedule.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, a lot of kids watch you, man. We watch you, and you just bring a lot of laughter to a lot of people, and with your talent. So thank you. But speaking of your talents, we're going to put your talents to the test right now, because we are going to name a couple characters, and now you get to do what you do best.
All right.
Give us a little promo on some of them, and we have about 10 of them.
Okay.
They're our favorites that we've seen you voice before, so nothing crazy. But we'll start with the man, Don LaFontaine.
Well, Don LaFontaine, if you don't know, was the godfather of movie trailer voices, and he actually came up with the phrase, "in a world." But you'd probably best know him for one of his most famous trailers, which was
Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
That's so awesome. You know what's funny too? Obviously we know who Don is. He's obviously that voice, right? I don't know if you ever heard of Pablo Francisco.
Yes,
back in the day, I used to watch him. And I swear, you remind me a lot of him too, man.
Don't worry, because even though it was back in the day, he's still doing that same routine.
What was it? The Taco Boy with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Little Tortilla Boy.
So what Pablo actually did is he took Don's voice and Hal Douglas's voice, which you would recognize from
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and The Odd Life of Timothy Green,
and he merged that with
Terminator Judgment Day. And he came up with that weird version that he does, Tortilla Boy.
It's just like awesome. This weird mashup version of two different guys.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. All right. The next one, which is something close to you now, right? J. Jonah Jameson.
Parker, give me a picture of SpiderMan or you're fired. You serious?
I love it, dude. I love it. That's awesome. All right, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but real quick. So, funny story. I was at VidCon, and an audition for J.K. Simmons' voice came up, and I wasn't anywhere. I was in Anaheim. I wasn't anywhere near a studio. I wasn't anywhere near home. I had a little tiny microphone and my cell phone, and I recorded this one sentence, and I booked it from a hotel at VidCon. Steve Jobs no longer has a job at Apple, or something to that effect. And I got it.
That's awesome.
My first J.K. Simmons voice.
Yeah,
we know a thing or two because we voiced a thing or two.
Bro, you nail that voice. It's so great, and I've been seeing a lot of your posts lately, and it's just
there's a new Marvel Spider-Man show coming to YouTube, and they had me as the J. Jonah Jameson, which I normally don't do on-camera stuff. So be nice.
I like it, dude.
I'm talking to them, the people that are listening, because by the time it comes out, they the guy's terrible.
No, that's great. It's great. It's great. I love it.
I'm used to being able to see the script in front of my face and just concentrate on just the voice, not what I look like and what my face is doing and all this other stuff. So all these other things you got to think about. A lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts in the machine.
Right? That's awesome. All right, I got to pick yours.
Johnny Depp.
Oh, Johnny Depp. Well, I do very specific Johnny Depp. I only do Captain Jack Sparrow, which is my favorite Johnny Depp character because it's so very well-rounded, like the bottom of a jar of rum. Although the rum's always gone, so.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. I love it. All right, you got that one.
Sam Elliott.
Now, Sam Elliott. Now, that's a big cowboy voice right there. Because if you don't like steak, that's how it's done. And I carry my 2-ton steak in the back of my Dodge Ram.
He would say something like that. That's great, man. Dude, I'm telling you, I love it. All right. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Listen to me right now, Toyquest101. Listen to me now and smell me later. No, they call me. I want to record the show right now.
Oh, that's so good. All right. Sir Ian McKellen.
You shall not listen to other podcasts except for Toyquest101. A voice actor is never late nor early. We arrive precisely when we intend to.
It's awesome. All right, Yana.
Morgan Freshman.
No, Freeman. Morgan Freeman.
First time I heard of Morgan Freshman was 1972.
That's such a nice voice too, man. I swear, I love his voice.
That's true, it is. It's me, Morgan Freeman.
That's great. All right, this is one of my favorites. Well, the last three are hands down our favorite. The Mark Hamill version of the Joker.
Oh, okay. It took me a second. And be too careful with all those weirdos around.
Yes. All right. This is by far my favorite because when you do the face swap with Ryan Reynolds, it's hilarious. But go ahead, Yana.
Deadpool.
Oh, hi there. How are you? You may be wondering why the red suit. Well, that's so bad guys don't see me bleed. This guy knows what it is. He wore the brown pants.
It's so good. It's so good, man. Oh my God. All right.
I'm getting all these quotes terribly wrong.
It doesn't.
I'm not the guy that has to memorize quotes. I'm just the guy who just acts.
It's great. All right. So last one of my favorite, your favorite, Optimus Prime.
My name is Optimus Prime, and I am the leader of the Autobots until all are one. Autobots transform and roll out.
That is awesome, dude. Thank you so much. What an epic segment with you.
Thank you for having me.
That's awesome. But before we end the show, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
I'm pretty easy to find. Add a big voice guy on literally everything except Facebook. I don't like Facebook. I don't have Facebook.
We're going to go ahead and put all your links in the bio of the video for all our viewers to go ahead and check him out. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. Make sure you follow him on Instagram, TikTok, hilarious, everything that you have. And Ileana, why don't you tell them where they can find us?
You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Toyquest101. Until next time, guys, thank you again, Jon Bailey, the man, the myth, the legend. We'll see you guys on another episode of Toyquest101. Bye, guys.
Be sure to subscribe to Toyquest101.
I said.